So first, as our welcome address presenter comes up this morning, I wanted to let you know that, again, thank you very much for being with us today. This is the start of our year of celebration, as Jerry Hahn has deemed it. So right now we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of COAST. So COAST was the first security dedicated laboratory at Purdue, started by Professor Spafford and Professor Wagstaff. Quickly grew, and 6 years later after that, CERIAS was born from COAST. So right now, 25th anniversary started this spring, 25 years ago this spring, and a year from now, we'll be celebrating the 20th anniversary. So welcome to our year of celebration. We started last night with the first event, and so I believe she is here in the room. Wafa Mamili, who is the CISO at Eli Lilly, was part of our Women in InfoSec networking event last night, so thanks to all who participated in that event last night, and thank you to our students who showed up and walked away pretty impressed with the room full of men and women who were there to support them. Later tonight is our celebration party for COAST. That will be also the CERIAS poster session. So it's an opportunity to see, I believe, 53 different research projects that are being managed here at Purdue, all within the area of information assurance, security, privacy, resiliency, and cybercrime. So come celebrate with us and come learn more about the research that's going on here at Purdue with CERIAS. And with that, I'd like to bring up our first presenter this morning, Ian Steff. Ian is the Chief Innovation Officer for the state of Indiana, and we've had the pleasure of this last year getting to work closely with Ian and his staff at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. Their tagline, which you have probably seen or will see very soon here, is "A State That Works." And while CERIAS has a very, very broad global view, it is wonderful to have a supportive state that helps both what we're trying to do here in the state, but also off campus as well. So Ian, thank you very much for your support of CERIAS and Purdue University, and welcome to Purdue.
Thank you very much, Joel. Good morning. On behalf of the Governor and our Secretary of Commerce, welcome to this symposium. I was invited to speak this morning back in January when Joel and I were going around the state of Israel for the Cyber Tech Summit there. So we were over there for a week, and you really get to know someone when you're in the back of the van traveling hours around small roads in Israel going back and forth. But what we did learn there was that we have great partners in the state of Israel while we were over there, some of whom are here today. On behalf of the state, again, welcome. Looking forward to this symposium today. I'd like to call out our state's cyber security advisor, Doug Rapp. Doug Rapp, if you could raise your hand, he'll be here throughout the 2 days of the symposium, so feel free to track him down as well. You know, I've been in this capacity for the last 3 years, serving under Governor Pence and now Governor Holcomb, and I can tell you that as I travel around the state, you know, I see billion-dollar industries solving billion-dollar challenges every day in a diversified set of sectors, whether it's agriculture, pharma, advanced manufacturing, aerospace, and defense. We have those industries here that are solving the next challenges that are posed to us, and certainly the cybersecurity industry is one that's taking off strong here in the state of Indiana as well. We have many growing cybersecurity firms, including Ponderance and Rook Security and Kinney Group, and many others that continue to grow. I would also say that it's an exciting time to be in the state of Indiana as we look forward to our 3rd century of innovation here in the state. I would say that you know, we just celebrated our 200th year anniversary, and this is a state that continuously performs, works, and it's a state that makes things, grows things, connects things, and moves things. And you can't do any of those things without securing those transmissions, as well as the secure transformation of our information technology sector. I would say that cybersecurity is the fastest growing area in the tech sector that we see here in the state of Indiana. and one of the fastest growing industries in the world. You don't need me to tell you that. You live and work in that field. I would also say that the cybersecurity market has not escaped our attention in terms of its great growth. So in the last 13 years, growing from $3.5 billion in 2004 to $120 billion in 2017. I started off in the semiconductor industry. Our worldwide market share was $333 billion annually, and I have not seen the type of growth in any industry since my experience in that industry than I have seen in the cybersecurity industry. So congratulations for those students in the room. You've chosen the right field. The market is predicted to grow 8 to 15% each year for the next 5 years. Worldwide cybersecurity products will eclipse $1 trillion in the same 5 years. Think about that, $1 trillion in the same 5 years. The market will grow comparable to the growth of the rate of the Internet of Things, an industry that I grew up in. You guys were talking about IoT before it was cool, and certainly IoT would not exist without cybersecurity. IoT, let me be clear, is one of the strategic sectors for the state of Indiana. It is one of 7 strategic sectors, and we were proud to announce the first IoT lab through the leadership of Mayor Fadness and Fishers earlier this year. Purdue, IU, and many other universities are a part of that IoT labs that will grow throughout the state. This is the first state that has done anything like it. Worldwide spending in terms of cybersecurity protection, $75.4 billion in 2015, and it certainly shows no signs of slowing. The increasing threat and the increasing opportunity, in my view, will continue to shape the market, not only here in the state of Indiana, but worldwide. Threats to the Indiana economy. So we look at opportunities at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, and we look at opportunities. General threats include nation-state cyber criminals, hackers, hacktivists, lone wolf, insider threats. In 2016, cybercrime cost the global economy over $450 billion. $450 billion. Over 2 billion personal records were stolen in the U.S., myself included. Given my federal government experience, I was the recipient of multiple letters, and I'll tell you, certainly a great deal of disappointment there as well, but certainly opportunity. Many leading industry experts predict the 3 top threats for 2017 will be ransomware, extortion, attacks on industrial control systems, and again, insider threats. 80% of ransomware attacks are in the healthcare industry, so many of you are here in the healthcare industry. You certainly know that very well. Personal health information is 50 times more valuable in the black market than financial information. Stolen patient health records can fetch as much as $60 per record, and certainly the market is demonstrating a need for scaled solutions for businesses, and many of those small businesses that we see around the state, those small businesses that are just trying to come to grasp the situation in which they find themselves in. So the Indiana initiatives, here are the opportunities. What are we doing here? And Doug can certainly tell you a little bit more about this as well throughout the course of the 2 days. Simply put, our goal is to establish Indiana as a worldwide leader in cybersecurity, to be the nucleus of cybersecurity in the region, and without CERIAS, that doesn't happen. So I will make that very clear. Without Purdue University, without many of the universities throughout our great state, that will not happen. So that's number one. We are also developing a strategy that supports the governor's 5 strategic pillars. IEDC is currently producing its final draft of our cybersecurity economic development plan that will be public and shared. And fortunately, many of you in this room will have an opportunity to weigh in on that plan with Doug. This is very good timing, as he will be incorporating the feedback from this conference into that final report. So track down Doug Rapp on the economic development plan. Certainly private industry and the university input will be very important as that plan comes to fruition. In April 2016, I had the good fortune of working with the Governor and the Secretary of Commerce on the announcement of the formation of the Indiana State Executive Council on Cybersecurity. So again, a trailblazing state. We're the first state to have the Cybersecurity Council, of which Purdue participates. And it very much is charged as a public-private partnership that will be tasked with enhancing Indiana's ability to prevent, respond to, and recover from all cybersecurity issues, and more importantly, draw on the experience of the private sector. Without the private sector in this room, the council would be, quite meaningless in my view, and certainly the private sector has embraced this council that will pave new paths for us here in Indiana. Some of you may have heard about the $1 billion innovation agenda. The $1 billion innovation and entrepreneurship agenda was started by Governor Pence in July of 2016. Governor Holcomb has fully embraced that agenda. It's one that I lead on behalf of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. $1 billion over 10 years. What does that look like? Well, a great deal of that $1 billion will be devoted to venture capital investments in fields that are strategic to the state, like cybersecurity, like IoT. We have seen that our venture capital deployment continues to rise, but it is also a risk if we don't keep up with our neighbors. We will not have the type of small business growth and startup growth that we would like to see. So about $500 million will be devoted to venture capital. I am also calling this a $100 million fund as part of that $1 billion initiative. It's called the Industry-Driven Innovation Partnership Fund. This will spur industry investments in strategic sectors in areas like cybersecurity. I would say that what this will look like is a group of industry coming together alongside a university and suggesting here are some challenges that we want to solve over a multi-year period. They will bring cost share to the table, and CERIAS is a great platform to help organize such an industry-led effort. So that's $100 million over 10 years. I felt very strongly that we needed to enhance our public-private partnerships in our strategic sectors across the board. When I first came to this position, we started off a few other partnerships in the Composites Institute. Some of you might be familiar with the Indiana Manufacturing Institute here at Purdue. That was enabled by seed funding from a similar fund. We're just taking that and putting it on steroids, and I would say that we're very excited about that. So that, in a nutshell, is the $1 billion initiative. There are a few other components, including transferability of our venture capital tax credit, which will enable additional startups throughout this exciting space. Indiana's greatest assets. As we look around, we're standing in one of them. And it's not just because my wife graduated from this fine institution, of which she's always fond of reminding me that the first and last man to walk on the moon graduated from this school. I would say certainly our great research universities put our state on the map in this field and others. I came to know Indiana from my experience in the semiconductor industry, where I was supporting partnerships called the Focus Center Research Program here at Purdue, later known as the StarNet program, where industry, Intel, TI, Micron, and others were supporting 6.1 research at Purdue, at Notre Dame, and others across the state. So I firmly believe that that is the direction that we need to go. We need to spur industry to do more, and certainly that is a great asset. Our great workforce, our extraordinary workforce in this field and others continue to differentiate our state not only on a national scene, but on an international scene. We saw that in Israel, we saw it in India, we saw it throughout many of the destinations that the Secretary and I traveled to, and our workforce put us on the map. What we need to do is ensure that students graduating from this fine university have opportunities after they graduate. Simply put, that is the challenge, and that is what I hope comes out of this conference as well, talking about what does that workforce need to look like, and what are some of those potential economic opportunities that we see in this field. IEDC conducted a series of 7 cybersecurity town halls across the state that Doug Rapp led from Evansville, Columbus, Fort Wayne, West Lafayette, Westgate, and Bloomington. We made a very sincere and genuine effort to get out there in the field and listen firsthand to small businesses, to large ones, to local community leaders that really wanted to roll up their sleeves and figure out how could they be a part of this cybersecurity economic development plan, whether it was securing information or coming into compliance with new federal regulations. Certainly there was a sincere interest in being a part of this growing group, and I would say that it's an extraordinary effort that has brought communities from across the state together to formulate what will be Indiana's cybersecurity economic development plan. During the town halls, the IEDC created a survey to conduct a cybersecurity asset inventory and solicit feedback from the industry. All of this will be published very soon, so I'm very proud of that effort, and Doug, thank you for leading it. The IEDC is also engaged in both national and international cybersecurity efforts through participation in events like the CyberTech, which was in Israel, Black Hat, RSA, the ICS conference, and the International Resiliency Conference. I will say that, as the Chief Innovation Officer, there are many conferences that come across my desk that, over the 70 staff that, report in through that Innovation Entrepreneurship Department want to go to, want to represent the state. I will say that I think in the cybersecurity field, we're about 90% there in full coverage of these events. Why? Because in order to lead, you have to be at the table, you have to be there, and you have to demonstrate that not only is Indiana a place to grow your business and expand it, but it's a state that wants to be kept in the loop and help define and shape the future of this industry. So I would say that, again, that is very important. So from the town halls to the universities to the workforce that we have here, I would also say that over 30 academic institutions in Indiana have a cybersecurity information security specific course, focus area, certificate, and over 70 with degrees related to cybersecurity analysts. That's important. That is very important that our university community, our community college, have realized the growing opportunities in this field and have adjusted the curricula accordingly. I would say that survey respondents to the IEDC's work said that innovation and entrepreneurship is only second to academia as Indiana's greatest asset. So there is a culture of innovation, a culture of that pioneering spirit here in Indiana, one that encourages folks to want to stay here. I would say the investment climate. When we're on the road, people are well aware of the low tax rate here, but also, the AAA bond rating. We're a state that is consistently, saving for the future, and that's what enables us, quite frankly, to invest $1 billion over 10 years. You don't see some of our neighbors, doing that because they're just simply not in a position to do that. I would say that research was identified as one of the top Indiana assets. Indiana is home to the 6 major research institutions, some of whom I've already mentioned, and numerous NSA and DHS academic and research centers of excellence. So that certainly puts us on the map. Indiana is home to some of the world's first complex cybersecurity training. Some of you are familiar with the Muscatatuck and the Urban Training Center down south. I would say last year the state teamed up with companies and universities to conduct a full-scale exercise named CRITEX that included over 6 major water providers, the military, the state, the National Emergency Management Organizations. So we not only have access to people, but we have access to shared infrastructure. And if any of you have not been to Muscatatuck, it's certainly something that you need to check out and something certainly industry is very much interested in leveraging. NSWC Crane is also very important to us in southern Indiana. The Center of Electronic Warfare for the country and the 3rd largest Navy base in the world is in Indiana, in southern Indiana, in Crane. the Battery Innovation Center, right on the outskirts of the Crane Navy Base. Certainly something that is of a great deal of importance to the cyber ramifications to the electric grid. We have that shared infrastructure available to us. And lastly, Indiana does very well in cybersecurity and digital forensics. The partnership with the Indiana State Police and Purdue certainly is on our radar screen, and securing industrial control systems, securing the Internet of Things that IU, Purdue, and Crane have partnered on, and managing security services through a number of cybersecurity providers, both in-state and out-of-state. So I would just conclude by encouraging you to think big throughout these 2 days. I'm pleased that Joel is continuing to encourage folks to think big and to bring the right people together, from DHS to the state police to IEDC. I mean, you're really approaching it from all angles here. But also think about, what do those public-private partnerships need to look like to continue to ensure that Indiana is not only different, but Indiana will maintain our leadership role in this strategic sector throughout our diversified manufacturing and life sciences base. We need to take advantage of those assets, and I'm sure the people in this room will chart new public-private partnerships that will encourage folks to not only stay here, but to come here because of them. So with that, I encourage you to have a great time here, and look forward to working with many of you here in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. We have long valued the support of the state. As a land-grant institution, we certainly have focus on public service, public issues here, and we look forward to continued cooperation with IEDC and state agencies, many of whom are represented here. So as Ian was going through the list of various organizations, Crane, Muscatatuck, the Center for Complex Operations, and others, we have people here registered for the conference from all of those organizations. So if you see them in the audience, see that on their name tag, you might strike up a conversation as well. Along with many of our corporate partners who we value for their ongoing support of our programs, and a number of other interesting organizations, many represented by our alumni. So feel free to reach out to people as you go along.